Well guys, it's official. I'm entering my old and washed up era. If everything goes according to plan, this video should be going up on September 6th, 2024, the 5-year anniversary of the GregCubed channel. So I thought, why not try a Q&A video to celebrate the occasion? I'm vain enough to think people care about me, and surprisingly, people did. A couple, at least. I won't waste any of your time, we'll just get right into answering these questions, and at the end of the video, I'll have 2 special announcements, so stay tuned. RedChems asks, where does the channel name come from? When I first started doing YouTube, my main inspirations were like Angry Video Game Nerd, JonTron, Brutal Moose, that whole sort of angry game reviewer shtick. And so when I was trying to think of channel names, I was trying to channel some video game references in there, you know what I mean? So originally I was trying to base something around like Nintendo 64, you know, I was kind of like Animal Name 64, like Dingo 64, or like, you know, Slothmaster 64. Thank God I didn't go through with any of those. I very luckily came to my senses and realized that was stupid. I was kind of sitting in bed thinking about like, what's another console that I could reference for like my YouTube name, you know? I was like, well, there was the Super Nintendo, the NES, you know, the Wii, whatever. But my first game console was the GameCube. I think you can see where this is going now. And so immediately my mind jumped to GameCube. GregCube. GregCubed, like the math term, you know? And that pretty much immediately stuck. Like, I thought that was about as perfect as it was gonna get, really. It hit pretty much every mark that I could want out of a name. You know, it incorporated my real name into it, but it wasn't just my real name either. Like, it was a fun stage name with like a catchy ring to it. And it was also able to be a nod to video game culture without being like overtly a video game reference. Like, it's subtle enough that if I wanted to branch out and do other types of content, which obviously I have at this point, I would be able to, and I wouldn't be pigeonholed into doing like video game content forever. Like if my name was Dingo64 or something like that. I don't know. That would have been a horrible name either way, no matter what I was trying to do. But yeah, that's how we ended up on GregCubed. It just kind of stuck like that. So there you go. It's a GameCube reference. Who would have guessed? Y2 Commenter 246 asks, top 10 favorite games? So 10 might be a little too much, but I will give you my top 5. And I'll try and keep it to just 1 game per franchise too, so I'm not just listing off like 3 games from the same franchise. That would be stupid. So anyway, Super Monkey Ball 2, Sonic Adventure 2, Spyro the Dragon, Super Mario Odyssey, and then I would say 5th one is kind of hard to choose. I might go with Breath of the Wild, maybe? It feels kind of wrong, but that game is like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I don't know. I do need to get back into playing that. I still need to play Tears of the Kingdom too, actually. I own it. I haven't played it yet. I don't know why. Aiden Isaacs 1850 asks, what YouTubers inspired you to make video essays? Good question. So I didn't start making video essays on the channel in the sort of format that I do now until around early 2022. Immediately before that point, I'd say like the Maroon 5 video and backwards a bit. My main goal for the channel at that point was that I wanted to be a commentary channel like Drew Gooden or Curtis Connor, but instead of doing like commentary videos on like TikTok trends or whatever they were talking about, I was going to do commentary videos on just weird niche pop culture stuff that no one else was talking about. So it was like, you know, commentary videos on like Charmin Bear commercials or like what happened to Cheezosaurus Rex and stuff like that. And the main focus of my videos at that point was just trying to be funny. I don't think I was very good at writing comedy ever, but that was kind of the main point. Like I was trying to like shove in jokes like every other line if I could. They hardly ever landed in my opinion, but it is what it is. I have shifted away from that sort of style of content now. And a big inspiration for me shifting from like this very comedy-focused short commentary style to like the more informative edutainment, like video essay stuff I do now, was Quentin Reviews. He was the biggest inspiration in at least making the jump. I really found myself appreciating how he was able to kind of like make his videos funny. Like he would tell jokes in his videos, but he didn't feel the need to constantly be funny. Like you could, you know, go several minutes of a Quentin Reviews video just learning about whatever it is he's talking about. And then he'll throw in some like random joke out of nowhere that catches you off guard and, you know, gets you laughing. And that was a really huge, you know, shift, I think, like realizing I want to do that instead. Like I don't want to force, you know, corny jokes into like every other line of my script just because I feel like I have to. Like I can make videos that are entertaining without being ha ha, laugh out loud funny like every other line. So some of my other inspirations I would say include like Shafrillis, Emp Lemon, H Bomber Guy, Jack Saint, Mia Cole. All of those channels I think do really excellent video essays. All of them inspire me in different ways, whether it's just like the way I deliver certain lines or just the way that some of these channels are able to like talk about anything that they want. You never know like what they're gonna post next. Like that's something that I've always tried to incorporate into this channel. Cherry Azul Music asks, what's your next music video essay? So I don't normally like to give away topics ahead of time, but I will compromise with you, okay? I'll give you 3 music video essays that I'm planning to get to soon, and one of them is the one that I'm going to do next. I'm going to be kicking off 2025 with this video. Which of the 3 it is though, that's up to you to decide. Number 1, Panic at the Disco. I've gotten a lot of requests for this one, and I really want to get to it. I think they have probably one of the most bizarre, fascinating stories of any artist in modern pop culture. Just the way that they started as like this 4-person emo band in the mid-2000s, right? They disappear from the public conscious for the most part for like a decade, and then re-emerge like over 10 years later as just like a bubblegum pop solo act for Brendan Urie. And then the dude just gets canceled and bullied off the internet and now is retired at like age 30. It is just crazy. This is like not even scratching like the tip of the iceberg here, but that's one for sure will be happening soon. Number 2 is Coldplay. Their first 4 albums are some of my favorites of all time, and they have just fallen off, man. What the fuck? Some of the new music that they're putting out off of this upcoming album of theirs, and the one they put out a couple of years ago, and a lot of the music they put out through the 2010s is just like, what are we doing here? Number 3, last one, is Paramore. Paramore, I think, is like a great example of a band that has evolved far away from their musical roots, but done it in a way that like is good. Even like the most poppiest radio pop material that like Paramore has ever put out still has their signature songwriting and is still driven by instrumentals like guitars, drums, bass, and stuff like that. They've gone through so many lineup changes, so many changes in sound, yet they always sound like Paramore, without question. They've never even, in my opinion, had like the slightest hint of selling out. So they are like, they really stand in contrast to I think most other bands that I've talked about or plan on talking about. So yeah, there's 3 bands that I want to get to eventually. The Drew Daniels asks, could you do a timeline of how many subscribers you've had per year? Like end of year 1 was X, end of year 2 was Y, etc. It'd be interesting to see the explosive growth of the last couple years. So for the first 3 or so years of this channel's existence, I had less than 400 subscribers, which is crazy because those first 3 years were like the most prolific years for me uploading too. Like nowadays I only upload a couple times a year, but during those like early years of the channel, I was uploading like 2 or 3 times a month, and even like towards the end of that stretch, I was still kind of uploading like monthly at worst, you know? So most of the videos on my channel are from those first 3 years when I was making videos for an audience of like 300 some people max. It wasn't until I uploaded the video, What Killed the Me's, that I first started getting really any traction on YouTube at all. Before that video, I think my most successful upload was the Maroon 5 one, which is, you know, now has like over 200,000 views, which is crazy. At the time though, it had like 8,000 views, you know? And it barely crawled to that number after like 6 or 7 months. Like, it took a while even to get to 1,000 views with that one, and that was my biggest success on the platform in the 3 years I'd been doing it. So that should give you some idea into what like the early years of this channel were like. And so yeah, when the me video took off, it ended up quadrupling my channel size. I went from like, again, around like 390 some subs to around 2,500. So that was crazy. And then a few months later, when I uploaded the video on SpongeBob background music last spring, I want to say, that was my next big hit. and that blew my channel up to around 5,000 subs. And that's where I sat until this summer. For like literally, I want to say over a year, I just kind of sat in like the 5,000-6,000 sub range. It's fine, by the way. You know, I was making videos for years for an audience of like a few hundred people, so the fact that even like a couple thousand people were watching some of my post-SpongeBob videos were, I mean, that was just, it was still crazy to me. But as far as getting picked up by the algorithm again, that didn't happen until I uploaded the Imagine Dragons video back in May of this year. That blew my channel up around where it is now, which I think is close to 16,000 subs. I don't know if we'll actually hit that by the time this video goes up, but that's where we are today. It's been a very slow climb over the last 5 years, but a lot of my early content is kind of garbage, so I'm not surprised by that, to be honest with you. Ian Myers BHP asks, what do you think is the best video essay you've made? I also want to give a shout out to Pataclysm, who asked the same exact question, but with the added addendum of do it clap, do it fart. It does both, Patrick. As far as the bigger part of that question you both asked, I think my favorite video essay that I've ever made is the one I did on Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania back in January of this year. I think I really just cooked with that one. Obviously, it's the longest, most in-depth video I've ever made, so it automatically has that going for it, but there was just so many different like creative segments I managed to somehow weave into that. Like, obviously there was the normal, like, you know, going back and forth between voiceover and me being like on camera, but then I also had like the green screen segment. I had the interview with Ninja Star Compass that I was sprinkling throughout the video. I had like a unscripted like things I forgot segment. But yeah, there is just like a shitload of effort that went into that one. Not even just from like, you know, everything that normally goes along with making an hour-long video, but even just like trying to get good gameplay footage. Like, I had to grind at Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 for like a couple months to really get to the point where like I could, you know, have impressive footage to show off in the video. So yeah, I don't know, I cooked with that one. Obviously, that's not to say that I'm not proud of the videos I've made since, but it's just that there's been a very conscious effort on my part to kind of scale things back. Just so I could get some more uploads out this year. Because if every video I made was just like an hour-long extravaganza, things wouldn't get done on this channel. I'd be uploading like 1 or 2 videos a year, which I don't want. So Jeff Compass asks, would you ever be open to starting or co-hosting a podcast? Jeff, we're already on a podcast together, the EE podcast. Subtle self-promotion. As far as starting my own podcast though, you know, I'm not against the idea, but I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like I'm not very good talking unscripted. I think this video should be pretty good proof of that. And I don't really know when I'd be able to devote the time to, you know, hosting a podcast full time. But if another creator had a podcast and they wanted me to co-host it with them, yeah, sure, you know, I'd be down. I don't know, that sounds like fun, especially, you know, if I had someone to bounce off of. But yeah, just starting like a solo podcast, I don't know, probably not, but we'll see. You know, stranger things have happened. Where is Cheese 4860 asks, what plans do you have for the channel in the future, and what goals do you want to achieve along the way? So right now I'm working on a Halloween special video essay that I'm planning to have out in very early October, obviously, just so I can have as much algorithm support as I can get for that 1 month where Halloween is relevant. And yeah, it's gonna be a bit longer than some of the videos I've made recently. I think this is actually gonna be the longest video I've made since the Banana Mania video back in January. It's not gonna be that long. It's probably only gonna be like 40 minutes-ish, I'd assume, but yeah, it's definitely gonna be the most like expansive sort of creative project that I've done since then, where I'm just going to be going balls to the walls to really try and make something special for the channel and kind of push things forward again, you know. After that, in 2025, I'm going to be kicking things off with the next big music video essay that I have planned. And that one is also going to be probably another really in-depth one. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that next music video essay that comes out early next year ends up being like another hour-long, like, big special. So that'll be interesting. After that, I'll probably pare things back again and do some more like 20-minute videos just to get more stuff out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Again, it's kind of hard to talk about because I don't really like to give away topics ahead of time, but I do have a good like 3 or 4 immediate topics lined up that I'm really excited about, and hopefully you guys will find interesting. Mag is Gaming asks, how do you decide on the topic for a video? And do you usually have any expectations for how well it might do? So normally whatever I'm into when I'm working on a video essay ends up being the topic of the next video essay after that. So for example, when I was working on the video on SpongeBob background music back last spring, I was really into Fall Out Boy because they just put out a new album for the first time in 5 years, and it was actually good to my shock. And, you know, I was kind of going back down that rabbit hole, listening to all of their old albums again that I grew up listening to. And that ended up being the next video I did. So that's kind of how it normally goes. Just, you know, I'll be working on a video and I'll be really into something else, and that something else becomes the next video. Now, that methodology doesn't always work out. For example, when I finished working on the Futurama video earlier this year, the video I wanted to do next was a video on Crash Bandicoot and the Wrath of Cortex, which obviously ended up coming into fruition this August. But, you know, I didn't want to do another video game video essay yet, just because I try really hard to kind of keep things broad on the channel. I don't want to be pigeonholed into just being the music guy or just being the video game guy or whatever. And so I was just kind of like, I spent a couple of days or maybe even a few weeks like just thinking about what I wanted to do next for the channel. And I just woke up one morning with the story of like early Imagine Dragons like in my head. Like I was just thinking about that for some reason. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's actually a good idea for the next video. That's how that one came into fruition. Usually though, it is just based on whatever I'm feeling at the moment. So as far as expectations go, I have no idea. If there's one thing that I've learned on YouTube, man, you know, it's that you never know how a video is gonna do, really. I mean, I didn't think the Imagine Dragons video was gonna do well at all, because like normally when I covered bands on the channel, the video didn't do that well. So especially with like Imagine Dragons, like I didn't think that many people even cared about Imagine Dragons. It ended up being like my most successful video yet. So yeah, if there's one thing I've learned, I don't fucking know. I never know what to expect, you know? I thought the Wrath of Cortex video I just posted was gonna bomb, and that ended up being one of my better performing videos too, so I just kind of go with my gut, I guess. I don't know, I just throw stuff out there into the other, and hopefully people watch it. And this all kind of ties into the next question as well. Sippy Soups asks, how do you balance working on projects that you're passionate about versus things that you feel like will garner more views or subscribers? Is that something you often think about when deciding what to create? So like I said, when I'm deciding on what topic to do next for a video essay, it really is just whatever I feel like talking about that I'm into. Like I don't try and like chase trends or anything, which I think is pretty obvious looking at my content. That said though, I do have to kind of stay away from topics that I know that like nobody's gonna give a shit about. Like I think if I uploaded a video like the downfall of Hot Shell Ray, like it would get 2 clicks because like nobody knows what I'm talking about. No one cares. So I do kind of have to keep that in mind when picking topics. Like, is there an audience for this at all? And if the answer is no, then I probably won't make it. Now, luckily, most of my interests are things that people care about. So sometimes you just have a little goofy idea coming out of the noggin, and you gotta kind of shut that shit down, you know, take a spray bottle, like bad brain. Bad. Nathan Dunshow asks, why are you so handsome? Well, Nathan, I figured it's better than being footsome.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Mine Mo2cc asks, do you have playlists people can listen to? I think many people, have a similar taste in music and would be stoked to discover something new through you. So this is something that I never even considered people might want from me, but yeah, since you suggested it, I went ahead and took all of my liked songs on Spotify, put them into an official playlist, and have linked it in the description of this video for you to go check out, as well as anybody else who might be interested in that, but I don't know if there is anybody else. It might just be you. I'm sorry, homie. End things off, we have a question from Philosophes. What does the creative process usually look like? So like I've said in a couple of other questions, Usually production on like a new video essay starts during the previous video essay cycle. So usually during that time is when I'm doing a lot of like the research, just kind of like engaging with the media I'm going to be talking about. And once I feel like I have a story and I have something that I want to say and I feel like the video is kind of coming together in my head, so to speak, that's when it usually enters full production. Once production officially starts, it really is just like writing a school essay. You know, you start with an outline and then you just start putting words down on the page, really. I mean, every day I'll usually write a little bit more, and then I'll look at what I wrote the previous day, I'll revise that, and then I'll write a little bit more, and then I'll just kind of keep going back and forth, you know, revising, writing, until the script is complete. From there, I'll usually do 3 more full revisions, so I'll go through a second time, and I'll just make sure, you know, like, there's no grammatical errors, you know, if I catch, like, myself using the same word in a sentence twice, you know, I'll break out thesaurus.com. If something's like worded kind of awkwardly, I'll find a better way to put it. The third revision is the most interesting one because that's where I color code the entire thing of how I'm going to film it. So it's like, you know, this paragraph I'm just gonna have be voiceover, so I'll, you know, highlight this in red. This paragraph I'm gonna be on camera, so I'll highlight this in blue, you know. This is gonna be on a green screen, so I'll highlight this on green. This is in front of a whiteboard, so I'll highlight it and, you know, whatever. I'll just go through and just make sure every single paragraph, every single line, you know, has a place in the video, like how I'm going to film it. And then after that, I just do a final draft. And from there, it's pretty straightforward, just filming and editing the whole thing together. So anyways, that answers pretty much all of the questions. Huge thank you to everyone who participated in this. I've never done a Q&A before, so this was like huge learning experience for me. I'm glad I didn't wait until, you know, I hit like 100K or something crazy like that, because then I would be really overwhelmed if I had to do like, you know, a 40 question Q&A. Like just answering a dozen questions already is kind of hard, not gonna lie. But it worked out, we're here, we got through it. Thank you everyone so much. Like I said, I have 2 big announcements. The first of which is one that some of you might already be aware of. That being that I opened a Patreon account last month. I'm not changing anything about how I run the channel normally. This is just a tip jar for those who want to help financially support me, and I'll be providing some additional benefits for those who do. Things like getting your name put in the credits of my videos, getting access to behind the scenes content and early announcements and progress updates. For the higher tiers, there's things like getting to see my videos 3 days early or getting access to my finished scripts the minute that they're complete. So if any of these benefits sound interesting to you and you'd like to help financially support the GregCubed channel, the Patreon link is down below. I look forward to seeing you there. The second announcement is specifically for those of you who didn't click off the video the moment I said the P word. And that special announcement is that you're getting access to never before seen lost GregCubed content. You've heard it here first, folks. Back in 2021, during the height of my commentary era, I had made a video about the lore of progressive commercials, you know, like Flo and the gang. And at the time, I wasn't happy with it. I was about like halfway done editing it, and I was just like, this isn't coming together the way I want it to, and I ended up scrapping the whole thing. And I just kind of had it sitting on like a flash drive for a couple of years. It wasn't until back in like January this year, I ended up revisiting that project, and I realized this is like the same quality as like everything else I was making around the time. Like I was just kind of being a hater, really. So those of you who are still watching, at the very end of this video, get premiere access to it. You're the only ones in the world who will get to see the video, and I have it linked right here somewhere on screen. So this is the only way you can access it. It's unlisted. Go ham with it. Have fun. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Here's to 5 more years on YouTube, assuming I don't like die tragically or something. Okay, bye.